Now this week, I think it's Lynn that sent me the email, I'm going to be talking about customer complaints. And I gotta be honest, this subject just makes me cringe. It's like we've forgotten about customer service. It's like we've forgotten how valuable a client is to us. We've forgotten how valuable they are to us as people, but also financially. A recurring client is worth a lot of money. But so many salon owners and barbershop owners and a couple of spa owners are so determined to demonstrate that they've got some sort of principle and they are standing by it. They are so firm in this principle that they've forgotten about customer service and they've forgotten about the money that this client is helping them generate. And it culminates when I look on some of the forums, and it could be any particular day to be honest with you. A salon owner will have dealt with a client. Maybe it hasn't gone very well. So they put it onto the forum and it's followed by 50 people saying, stand your ground. Under no circumstances should you give a refund. She's wrong, he's wrong. Don't back down to them. And I think, my God, have you all gone mad? Because, the vast majority of people that come into our salons, in fact, the vast majority of people in the world are good, honest, decent people. Of course, there's a rogue or two, and we've got to deal with them maybe with a firm hand. But there are so many people that end up with genuine customer complaints that we don't handle very well. And what we do is, hopefully, at the very least, we'll say to them, okay, your nails have gone wrong, your hair's gone wrong, whatever's gone wrong. Have it redone. Let me do your nails again for you. And of course, we should do that. And sometimes that will work, and that's great. But if it doesn't work, if the client says, oh, look, I'm not happy any longer, I'm not sure if I want to come here anymore. Maybe they've only been there a couple of times. Maybe it wasn't the service itself. Maybe it was the staff. Maybe the way they was treated. Maybe it was the way they were handled first time. Maybe when they phoned up, the receptionist wasn't as welcoming as they should be when there's a complaint. Because I know some salons just don't look after these people. So, what you need to be doing is valuing this customer more. You've forgotten about the old saying, the customer is always right. In fact, I reckon if I put that on a forum today, I could find 1,000 people to agree with me that the customer is usually wrong. And you're missing the real principle. It's not whether the customer is right or not, okay? It's not a matter of whether the principle of going through with holding out on a refund is right or wrong. What you're trying to do is you should be trying to resolve the situation as quickly as possible, and you aren't. You're taking such a long time to resolve the problem that it becomes a big problem. Now let me go back to what it means for the customer to be right. The customer always has the sense that they are right. And do you know how you do that? Well, look, if you've now read my book, if you've now been on my course, you'll know there's a big section in there that says, never, ever, ever disagree with the client. Never. Even if they're wrong, you must always find a way of agreeing with them. Because once you disagree with a client, you've lost the high ground, you've lost the communication. Because you're now only intent on the disagreement. You see, it only takes one person to agree. So you can get two of you to disagree, but it only takes one person to agree. And because you've got no control over the customer, that person has to be you. So whatever the client says, you have to find a way of agreeing with them. So of course, if they say you're negligent and I'm taking you to court, well, of course, you haven't handled it very well in the first place, and you don't agree with them and say, great, I look forward to it. That's not what I mean. When the client says, look, I'm not happy with the colour because it didn't do this, then of course you say, I could see why you might not be happy. The customer thinks, they understand me. They're still connecting with me. And so what this is all about really is about having a policy in place. It's about having a procedure in place. Because sometimes the salon owners, certainly when I had all my salons, if I was dealing with a client, I would do a much better job than perhaps my managers. And I would certainly do a much better job than perhaps some of my staff who would be unfortunate if there was a customer complaint and they would be undertrained and they wouldn't be able to deal with it. And the way you get around ensuring that no matter who the client sees, they dealt with in a way that ensures one of two things. Either the client is happy and they continue to be a client of yours, or you ensure, the second thing is that the client is happy and they leave you, but they do not give you bad publicity. You see, when you've got a client who you think is wrong and you drag that process out, this is what it does. First of all, it makes the client absolutely adamant that because of the argument, not because of the original problem, because of the argument, there's no way they're coming back to you. That salon owner, that salon manager isn't a very nice person, is what they might now think. So they're not coming back to you even if you do recolor their hair, if you redo their nails. You've lost the argument because you're arguing. So what you've got to do is you've got to have a policy in place which makes it absolutely smooth. Now, I'm not going to tell you what your policy is, but it should be along the lines of, it must be 100% non-quibble. You cannot be quibbling over, oh, I'll give you a half price refund, I'll pay you back in vouchers, I'll see if I can fit you in for a recolor in 3 months. Whatever it is, you should be saying, I'm sorry about your hair. Now, it will depend how long you've known the client, how long they've been coming. And the first thing I would do, I would say, look, let's redo that service for you. Let's redo those nails for you, whatever it is. You'll judge straight away. If the client straight away says, I just don't want to be here, I just don't want to do that, so all you got to do is say, no problem. Here's your refund. Here's your money back. We're so sorry. Maybe use a couple of vouchers. Why don't you pop? Let me rebook you now. Tell you what, have a refund and let me redo your hair. Don't worry about the money. Because if it costs you £100 for a refund for some nails or for a colour, that lady or that gent is probably spending £1,000 with you in a year. So you're losing 100, but you still got 900 to gain back. So do whatever you've got to do. Deal with it as quickly as possible. Now, you also want this policy for your staff and your managers and yourself because you want an easy process. So maybe the process is this. Client complains, you offer the client to have that service redone immediately. Maybe it's in your lunch hour, maybe you stay after work, whatever it is. Maybe that will solve the problem. Stage 2, client rejects, client doesn't want that service, you give them a full refund and some vouchers as an apology. If they're not coming back, the vouchers are not going to cost you any money anyway. Now you're going to save yourself some stress. And the chances are the client can only say, look, my hair didn't go very well, my nails didn't go very well, but when I complained, fair play to the manager, he or she gave me my money back and some vouchers and offered. You know, they've got nothing to go away and be gnarly about and tell all their friends and jump on social media. Now, there might be some paperwork to go with this because you might have some legal obligation because you don't want to admit liability, you know, if you burnt a scalp and that sort of stuff. Well, they are much more serious cases, and in your policy, if there's a burnt scalp or something, of course you're going to have to phone maybe the National Hairdressers Federation, your legal line, and certainly your insurance before really proceeding. But if you set it up properly, you can give them a refund straight away. Do a disclaimer saying that you give them a refund without prejudice, which means that you're not admitting any liability. And they may never want to go to court. They might never want to take it to insurance. And your stress as a salon owner, as a salon manager, is going to drop and go away quite quickly. You're not going to be dragging this out for days and hours and months. You're not going to be on the forum tonight complaining and getting all your gang involved, are you? Because it's dealt with like that. So make sure that you've got a no quibble policy. Deal with it in the shortest route as you can. Money back, redo service, you know, whatever you've got to do. Get it done, get them out. Do the paperwork, make sure there's a disclaimer. If you have to phone your insurance company, that's fine. But do the disclaimer anyway. Get rid of the client. You know, in terms of causing a commotion, take them to a quiet location in your salon. And also, make sure that you've got some kind of complaints book. Or complaint sheet or a file on your system, whatever it is. So if you're not there as the salon owner or the salon manager, you know who has dealt with that problem. You know because they've got a written policy that the person came in, there was a complaint, we apologise, we give them a refund, we've got them to sign the refund slip, of course, we got them to sign the disclaimer, and we know it's been dealt with really professionally to your standard with no stress. And the customer or ex-customer perhaps has gone away unable to have any fire in her belly or his belly and really generate any problems for you. So make sure you got the complaints book, because then you can follow up. So if you're on a day off and you've got to come in tomorrow and the policy's been taken properly, then usually that customer is probably still a client of yours, which would be great, wouldn't it? And if they've left, they were going to leave anyway, because there were probably other things in your business. If something goes wrong with your business once and they leave, I'm pretty certain there's other things that were, gnawing away at them. So I wouldn't think that one complaint would normally get rid of a client, but it can happen, I guess. So you've got the complaints book, and then you know what, when you come in, you can phone that client and just follow up. Sometimes they'll say, it's no problem, I've already rebooked, or can I rebook you? And you can apologize again, coming from the top. And then you have a procedure. And what you're creating is a lot less stress for you, a lot less stress for your staff, and that's really important. A lot less stress for your client. And I would make that policy, honestly, no quibble, money back immediately. Do not quibble and argue. Of course, if they try it again, then you've got maybe that one in that very, very small percentage, and you may need to have a firm stand about how you have recurring problems. Or maybe you've got other problems in your business if that's happening. But it's kind of rare anyway to have customer complaints that we get to find out about. Usually they're disgruntled with us and they leave and go to the competition. So if you're lucky enough for a client to complain to you, please think about having a great policy in place. Make sure that you always agree with the client if you want to keep them. Make sure that you deal with it quickly, that minute, that hour, that day, but as quick as you can. Don't ask them to come back. Don't, Don't keep asking them, can you pop back tomorrow? You need to deal with it now. And never let a client leave the salon. If you've got them in there, they should never leave without it resolved. Okay, so this should be a good one on the forums. I'm guessing I'm going to get lots of feedback telling me, look, Carl, you're wrong. These people are ripping us off all the time. Well, they're not ripping you off all the time. There's a few rogue people, as in all walks of life. You just need a good policy in place. Everyone can follow it. Keep the stress down for you, the stress down for the client. Make sure it's no quibble, and get on with enjoying the positives of your business that you want.